So the only equipment you will need is your HB pencil, your 2B pencil and your 4B pencil, kneadable eraser and normal eraser. Alright, so, and also piece of towel to use to cover your hand as you're working. So you should have started with light outlines on your work in HB pencil. Okay, so once you're past that stage, you should move on to a 2B pencil because they're much softer and you'll get rid of the lines that you create when you're toning. So I'm going to show you on this one, just down the bottom. So I have tried to get rid of those super light lines that were on the outsides of each of my letters on here by toning and creating a mid-tone over the whole thing. With the ribbon, you have to decide where your light source is coming from. So for this one, I'm going to do it coming from the side. With the mountain, remember that that's already been decided. So your mountain, your letters, the fronts are all white, and the light comes from the right side of your drawing over here, further to the right, and then the darker side will be on the left of each letter. All right, so when you're toning, remember you need to tone in both directions. You are using your 2B pencil. You need to put your HB away. It's too hard. You won't get rid of any of the lines that you create by toning. So remember, you want to tone in two directions. You can turn your page around as you go. The only way that you're going to get rid of the lines in your work is to actually really work carefully and patiently. I've said that quite a number of times. It really does take patience. Try and make your edges all really sharp. That is, use the tip and go right to the edge of the letter. Remember, if your outlines of your letters are too dark, you're not going to get rid of them. So you do need to rub them out a little bit. So I'm continuing on with my tone down the bottom, and I'm just really going to finish off this M for you because this does take quite a while to do carefully, if you're doing it really carefully. So at the moment my hand is not on my work, so I don't necessarily need the paper, but once I do start working over here, I can then start to use the piece of paper to cover my work as I'm working. So you can use your pencil underneath your hand or on top of your hand, and don't hold it too close to the edge, hold it further back, and that will, and try and hold it on its side as opposed to the tip. Okay, and that will help you to sort of soften the marks. Try and make your stroke short. So that means don't draw long arcs, just draw short segments and then join them up. Now to get rid of where it joins, you've just got to be really careful that you don't do too dark between each section. And you also then can colour in the opposite direction. So I don't sort of forget which direction I'm toning in. I sort of stick to the one direction for a little while and then go over it in the opposite direction. So carefully as I go. Now, if I could move my page around the opposite way, I would. So the tip of my pencil I could use and right on the edge of this M. Now remember, we just still want to make that mid-tone over the whole of the piece. So I'm going to sort of start the side of this mountain a little bit more. You can sort of make the side of the mountain however you want it to be really. So I've toned as evenly as I could around my M, and I've brought the tone down quite a bit, and the reason is because I want to create this illusion that the letters are popping out from the mountain. So even tone all around, and this is the step also on the ribbon where evenly toned around the whole thing, and that's now where I need to add my darker tones and then take away the highlights with my erasers. So first on the mountain, you need to start adding in your 3D elements. So these lines that pop out, so we need to add that sort of darker shadow from each. I've sort of already started. So you want to darken off this section and try to sort of make it a thick enough block. Don't make it too thin. Okay, and we don't want to also create a dark line here. We want it to be really subtle. So we're softening off all of the edges. So we're creating a darker tone, but we're not sort of doing a block around the letters. Okay, so you can see there how I'm just starting to darken it off slightly more. So I'm adding my darker tone all the way down. Try and keep it as even as possible. You don't need to use a ruler, you're just using your eye as evenly down the side. Remembering again, you're toning in sort of short sections and joining them up as opposed to long arcs, because you can't control the stroke very well and you'll sort of end up drawing too darkly really easily. So this is where you're applying a little bit more pressure. I've got towel under my hand, right, and I'm just carefully darkening that edge. Then I'm doing the same underneath as well. So I want that sort of to go in the same direction. I am holding the pencil slightly closer to the tip because I am using a bit more pressure. I'm also sort of carefully toning in two directions, and I want to sort of have a difference even between this tone and this tone, because that will, on the bottom of the L, that will sort of create different sort of areas of tone within the whole piece. So all the way back, try and keep the angles the same. So whatever angle you've got up here, you replicate it down here, down the bottom of each of your letters. So I'm just sort of gonna carefully try and tone this darker. And then from this direction as well, the whole time I've got the towel under my hand, just to prevent it from smudging over the letters. Okay, so I've sort of started. I can bring the line up a little bit, but I don't really need to define it. It'll sort of disappear into itself. Okay, so remember, I want to have this edge here. I don't want to put a line there, but I want it to be slightly darker than this tone here, so it appears like there are 3 tones going on. Alright, so I've got it starting to take shape. I'm going to do that again. I'm going to sort of darken this edge a little bit more. So I'm trying to get a difference between here and here. So I'm just sort of going over that area to create that effect. And I'm going to go up a little bit on this one, but I don't really sort of need to go up too high because it will disappear into this section of the